Vlad the Impaler is one of the most ruthless rulers in history. But how much of his story is real, and how much was fabricated by his enemies? What really happened to Vlad the Impaler? Welcome to my channel. It's me. And today we're answering the extraordinary and gruesome question: why does Vlad the Impaler still terrify us 600 years later? We'll start with the folklore that surrounds Vlad the Impaler, then dig into the historical records to find out what really happened. You can decide for yourself where the truth lies. Vlad the Impaler's reign was so brutal that stories about his cruelty have echoed down through the centuries. Some accounts make him sound like an unhinged monster. For example, he was said to be obsessed with pork, but only pork knuckle. Every day, he dipped his bread in blood while reciting prayers. He chained women to chariots like horses and whipped them as they pulled him around. And he chained men to carts like oxen and forced them to plow fields. Some say Vlad the Impaler skinned people alive and used their hides as belts or whips. Others claim he chopped people up into tiny pieces and served them as sausages. Still, others say that he roasted human flesh and sprinkled it with salt and pepper before serving it to guests at dinner parties. Vlad was also fond of throwing gold coins from a tower, enjoying the sight of common folk fighting over the riches. The rumors surrounding Vlad the Impaler were so outlandish that even his enemies questioned their veracity. The Polish chronicler Jan Długosz wrote that some claimed Vlad engaged in cannibalism and others claimed he dipped his bread in the blood of infants. Yet Długosz himself could not confirm these rumors. He wrote, "There are many tales about the manners of this prince, which, though they are not true, are believed by the vulgar." Despite the rumors, Długosz reported that many lords throughout Poland and Lithuania had sent their children to Vlad for safekeeping, implying that if Vlad was truly a monster, he wouldn't have been trusted with such valuable charges. So where did the grisly tales come from? Before we get into that, let's go back to the beginning and see what we know for sure about Vlad the Impaler's life. Born in 1431, Vlad the Impaler was the second surviving son of Vlad II, Prince of Wallachia, a region in southern Romania. His father had converted to Christianity and named his sons after saints. The boy Vlad was named after Saint Valentine. When Vlad II was invited to a feast hosted by Hungarian King John Hunyadi, he left Vlad and his older brother Radu behind in the care of a governor. However, John Hunyadi had other plans. While Vlad's father was away, he kidnapped the two young princes, intending to hold them hostage until Vlad II agreed to relinquish the throne. John Hunyadi wanted Vlad II's territory, which would solidify Hungary's control over the important trade route between the Black Sea and the Adriatic. Unfortunately for Vlad, his older brother Radu sided with their captor. Radu eventually became ruler of Wallachia under the name Basarab III, while Vlad lived in captivity for the next 7 years. In 1448, Vlad was able to escape and return home. But despite being free, he wasn't exactly in a good position. Vlad had no prospects and was living in poverty when he met a man who would change everything: Polish nobleman Casimir. The two hit it off right away, and Casimir took Vlad under his wing, helping him navigate the intricacies of European politics. When Casimir died, Vlad inherited his lands and title, but he soon found himself in hot water. Vlad's new lands bordered those of the Ottoman Empire, and the two were not on good terms. While Vlad was busy trying to defend his land, the nobles in his domain grew tired of his leadership and invited his former brother Radu back to rule. Once again, Vlad found himself without a country. He spent the next few years bouncing around Europe, trying to get support to win back his homeland. In 1456, Vlad finally got his chance. The Holy Roman Emperor Frederick III appointed Vlad as the ruler of Transylvania, a province located north of Vlad's homeland of Wallachia. Unlike his previous appointment as Prince of Wallachia, this position came with a noble title, making Vlad a member of the European aristocracy. But now that Vlad was in power, he could indulge his bloodthirsty side, and he wasted no time doing so. One of Vlad's first acts as prince was to wage war against the Tatars. The Tatars were fierce horsemen from Crimea whose attacks on European settlements had been growing more frequent. With their powerful cavalry, the Tatars had proven difficult to defeat, but Vlad's methods proved effective. Instead of trying to match the Tatars on their own turf, Vlad lured them into a trap. He led the Tatars deep into the forest, where they became lost and exhausted. Then Vlad pounced, decimating the Tatars and ending their threat to Transylvania. Vlad's brutality didn't end there. Vlad built a reputation as a merciless ruler, often using violence and intimidation to keep his subjects in check. For example, in 1459, Vlad allegedly executed hundreds of prominent citizens for criticizing his policies. He also earned the nickname Vlad the Impaler, because he frequently resorted to crucifixion as a form of punishment. Vlad would order entire families to be impaled, leaving their bodies on display as a warning to other potential dissidents. But Vlad wasn't just violent towards his subjects. He was also willing to shed the blood of his own kin. After the death of his father, Vlad inherited his father's feud with John Hunyadi. In 1459, Vlad and Hunyadi clashed at the Battle of Belgrade, where Vlad's forces were defeated. During the battle, Vlad's wife, Princess of the Kingdom of Naples, was captured. As punishment, Vlad had her thrown into a dungeon, where she died of starvation. Soon after, Vlad married a woman named Duchess of Ossorenza, but he wasn't faithful. He had the Duchess imprisoned and then ordered her to be put to death in the most gruesome manner, having her body quartered, thrown into 4 different pits, each of which was filled with spikes. Vlad also treated his son poorly, locking him in a tower for 6 years to punish him for misbehaving. Now, this doesn't sound like the behavior of a man who is known for his mercy and generosity, does it? So, where did that rumor come from? Well, as it turns out, there's more than one Vlad the Impaler. You see, there's little documentation about Vlad the Impaler's early life. So much of what we think we know about him has actually been created by historians and storytellers to fill in the gaps. We know that Vlad III was born in Wallachia, ruled Transylvania, and was a member of the House of Dr. Kultry. But beyond that, we don't know much about him. What we do know is that during the mid-1400s, another Vlad was gaining notoriety in the area. Vlad Tepes, also known as Dracula. Vlad Dracula was the son of a minor nobleman, not a prince, and he held no official titles. Nevertheless, Vlad the Impaler has often been confused with Vlad Dracula, likely due to the fact that both of their names have been Latinized to include the infamous prefix Dracula. Vlad Dracula earned his nickname thanks to his decision to join the Ottomans in their war against the Hungarians. Initially, the Ottomans weren't keen on accepting Vlad into their ranks. They were wary of trusting a Christian, especially one with such a high status. But Vlad was persistent, and eventually they relented, appointing him as a magistrate in the city of Smederevo. Vlad's job was to collect taxes and report any suspicious activity to the Ottoman Sultan. And he performed his duties well, rising quickly in the ranks and eventually becoming a close advisor to the Sultan. One reason the Ottomans trusted Vlad so much was because he seemed to embrace Islam, changing his name to Abbas and even marrying an Ottoman princess. However, it appears that Vlad may have converted for political expediency rather than religious sincerity. You see, there's evidence that Vlad was a devout Christian all his life. For example, when Vlad visited Pope Calixtus III in Rome, he insisted on kneeling for the kiss of peace, a sign of Christian brotherhood that Catholics are expected to partake in during communion. He also carried a relic of St. Anthony with him into battle. So which Vlad is the real one? We'll never know for sure, but if Vlad the Impaler is indeed Vlad the Impaler, it seems unlikely that he would have been embraced by the Muslim Ottomans. So perhaps the real Vlad the Impaler was a victim of mistaken identity. Maybe Vlad Dracula was the kind, generous leader that the legends describe, but his good deeds were falsely attributed to Vlad the Impaler. Or maybe Vlad the Impaler was a cruel ruler who enjoyed nothing more than blood sports. The truth is somewhere in between those two extremes. Vlad the Impaler was a complex individual, and we don't do him justice by painting him as an irredeemable villain or an upstanding hero. After examining Vlad the Impaler's life, one thing becomes clear. He might not be the monster his enemies made him out to be, but that doesn't mean he was a saint either. Thanks for watching. What did you think of Vlad the Impaler's story? Let me know in the comments. And remember to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time.